Alright, yo, what's up everybody? Hello! My name is ViBE. ViBE lol. Root ViBE. Lots of vibes. I'm ViBE. And I'm going to be doing a replay analysis of Serral versus soO of the most loved game of this series in the round of 8. Game 3. ZVZ. Epic battle. This thing was a nail biter, you know what I'm saying? And we're going to go through decisions and direction of each player's build and what things, why they're doing the things they are, and what is good and what is bad about the way they're playing. It's going to be mostly good though, because these are two top level pros, so it's going to be really hard to critique the things that they do wrong if I can even see any of them. But yeah, well, I'll help you guys understand why they do the things that they do. And first of all, we have this is already a deviation in the build. We have one player going for a 16 hatch and one player going for a 17 hatch. I honestly think that soO's build here, the 17 hatch build, so far is better, because this map is not a short rush distance. This is actually a really far rush distance on the map pool. This is one of the longer ones. You would be totally fine doing a 17 hatch and not having it die to a 12 pull. It'd take a while for your lings to get across the map. But either build is they're both really similar. I will say it would just make it a little bit easier for Serral to defend a 12 pull because he went for a 16 hatch. But 12 pull is not the best idea to go for anyways on this map, so even if he goes for a 17, it's still going to be not that hard to defend, is my point. 12 pull is not great on this map because the rush distance is kind of far. Now we have Serral going for gas pull, soO going for gas pull. Both players kind of following it up with pretty similar stuff right after the hatch. This is overall pretty similar build. Serral has a little bit of a safer build overall, but yeah, nothing too crazy has happened so far. Both players will be able to spin their larva. I would say the only thing that's different about the situation we're in right now is soO's build, while spinning larva, could actually take a third slightly faster now. That's it. That's the only difference. We're talking by like literally 3 seconds or 5 seconds max. Like, it's not going to be much of a difference in the timing of a third if he went for the greediest possible third he could while getting drones. Serral's moving out with 2 lings. I like it. Serral's also the one who's more eager to take the third. Both players taking it, I guess, at the same time. Look at the money, though. See how soO has a tad bit more? Just by a smidgen? It's the exact reason why I just said soO's build is better for the standard macro build. Like, if we pause it really fast and we look, soO's hatchery is actually at 6 seconds build time, and Serral's is at 5. It's actually a 1 second difference with the way they both did it. It's really minor, but the way soO did it, he has just barely a little bit more money. Just barely. We have a baling nest coming out for both players now too. Basically, up to this point, both players have played incredibly standard. There's nothing crazy about this match going on right now. Nothing weird. Both players are still droning. This is now going into that. Phase of the game where both players are going to scout. Both players right now can decide to make a choice and go, you know what? My next inject that pops off, I'm going to go for a ton of lings, because look right now at both players. We have larva injects popping off for both of them. Serral's about to have 6 larva. soO has an inject popping off, and he just has an inject that popped off in the main. He just decided, I'm going to make a bunch of drones. But both players could right now go, you know what? I'm going to make mass lings. Because if they made mass lings right now, their ling speed would start, or it would finish up right as the lings start running across the map. And then they could launch like a timing on each other, etc, etc, etc. And the game could turn into like this ling bane battle if either one decided that's how they wanted to take it. Or they could both drone up a lot and go from there. And because of that being the situation at hand, I actually like Serral's playthrough here, the blue Zerg. The reason why is because he actually is actively scouting on the map right now with 2 lings, whereas soO is kind of being caught on these 2 lings and going, are you making banelings with those things? And are you going to do a timing on me? And are you going to harass my hatchery? I want to find those lings to make sure nothing weird goes on. But at the same time, soO is not scouting the base of his opponent. He scouted it with an Overlord and goes, okay, I see you have a third. And he also scouted earlier with this Overlord to go, okay, you have a natural. But he has no active unit on the map right now to go into his base really quickly and go, what are you doing with your larva? soO's going to know later than Serral will what's happening with the larva. So I actually like that Serral is being more active on the map right now with his units. And he's also kind of, like I said before, he's making soO kind of paranoid about the fact that there could be Banes. Because that's what a lot of Zergers like to do. They like to hide their first couple lings, make Banes out of them, and then flood lings right after. And now both players have speed. This right here tells you that this is a lot of information. And if you don't think about this as a Zerg player, you should. If both players' speed finishes at the same time, this not only tells you that your opponent took a gas at the same time you did, like they didn't go pool before gas, instead they went gas before pool because you went gas before pool. Also, both players invested into speed first, which means, number one, neither player is rushing a layer. So automatically, if either player is going to go for like a Muta build or a Nidus build or anything fucking tech related, already you can rule that out for the beginning of the game because that player got Zergling speed, so he's playing a standard game up to this point. Also, it means that neither player is doing a weird Carapace or melee upgrade build either. Neither player is doing anything weird. They're not doing anything out of the norm. They're not going for fast upgrades either. It's all super standard. It does not mean that they can't do it now. They can still transition into it at this point. But their first under gas for both players is Zergling speed. So you automatically can say, all right, well I can basically just add a minute to the clock. Just add a minute to the clock, and if my opponent does any type of a timing of any tech related or upgrade related thing, it's already going to be a minute later than it should be because they went for Zergling speed first. And also both players have seen that both of them went for a third base. So on top of seeing Zergling speed really fast and seeing the third base, means that this player has spent pretty much all their money going to this point. It means that there's really only like two ways that the build could go. One would be you could have a Ling Flood coming out now. It's still very realistic that both players could do, either player could do a Ling Flood and follow it up with like Banes or something like that. Or both players are just going for this, I'm going to scout you a bit with a few Zerglings and drone my ass off. So really, both players up for like the next minute of this game have literally one of two builds that they can find out. And the way you can discover that is, I'm going to scout your larva. What are you doing with it? Are you making Zerglings or are you making drones? Because drones and Zerglings cost the exact same amount of resources. So yeah, both players have a real good understanding as to what's happening because they're both active. They both know the potential of their opponent, basically. And right now, again, automatically, I like Serral's position better. Because we're going to look at soO for a second. Look at soO. Overlord, Overlord, Overlord. He knows there's three bases, and he knows the Zergling speed thing we just talked about. So he knows there's like a minute of time where nothing real crazy is probably going to happen. But he does not know that Serral is not flooding the Zerglings. Like, he doesn't fully know that. For all soO knows, Serral could have, like, lings being flooded right here, 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 here. And out of nowhere, Serral could just be like, alright, I'm going to run across the map with everything. In just a minute here. So that's a possibility that soO has to keep, consideration. But for Serral actually has lings running at the base right now, and he's going to see something with the larva. He's going to see, all right, your third's about to finish with my Overlord. Both players know that though. But he's going to see, all right, are you making a lot of lings? Are you making more units than you should be? Are you flooding me? Are you making a ton of drones? Are you making a wall off here with roaches? Like a roach warren and Evo chambers? Serral's going to have a better understanding as to what's happening at this point, which I like more, because he also left a few lings behind, and he has Banes. In case these lings were to die immediately and then a flood came across right away, he would already be prepared. But he's not over-preparing. I actually do like Serral's version better here. And he sees, okay, you got some lings. And the way he responds to it is he's still droning. And he knows that even if there is a little bit of a ling timing, he'll see a flood. If he sees a flood with an Overlord, he will then start more lings. But like I said before, he's already prepared for a potential counter of a potential counterattack. So there's no real threat, basically, coming over to Serral's side of the map. He knows he's fine. Again, soO though is kind of blind here. He doesn't fully know. He's assuming. soO is assuming. Also, the thing I don't like for soO is that he's actually blind to the bottom side of the map. If Serral were to run the Zerglings like this, see, Zerglings are here, okay? And Serral goes, okay, you have an Overlord right here. I see it with my Overlord. And I do not see an Overlord here with my Overlord. Okay. Let's go like this. Let's take my Lings and go like this. Let's go down and around the bottom side of the map. And once I'm on the bottom side of the map, I'll curve it around and go up to your third. Because look, it's Serral's Overlord again, and he doesn't see an Overlord here either. And look, if we look at soO's vision, there's actually nothing giving vision in this area. He would have no idea. Sorry, that was the wrong guy. soO's vision, there's nothing giving vision. There's no red dots or no green dots now on the bottom side of the map. So that is a potential thing that could happen to soO if Serral went crazy and decided to all in him. So again, I like the map awareness more of Serral. So this is why Serral is such a good Zerg, by the way. This guy fucking knows everything that happens every time. Every time I've ever watched any of Serral's games, this is like the story of every game. He never has any holes in like what we just talked about. So soO actually has a hole in his build right now, and it's the bottom side of the map. And it's the fact that he doesn't know if his opponent is making mass Lings or not. He's assuming it's drones. And Serral is once again keeping tabs. He just saw the third with one drone on it. So already, automatically, Serral knows that he needs to be cautious of the map still. He's checking again, but he knows he's ahead. Here it is again. He sees 3 drones right now. A third one just finished, and he sees 2 drones on the third base. Over here, he has 8. He already has 8 drones on his own third. If I'm Serral, I go, all right, well, I've droned harder than my opponent. I need to be safe about the fact that my opponent could be making units. I don't want to die to something weird. But I know I'm ahead in drones. Like, I'm mining at a faster rate than my opponent. This is really good. I'm in a good position, as long as I don't die to an all-in. So what does he do? He scouts further forward, and he goes to the natural, and he goes, oh, look, another drone is being sent down. That is a big tell, saying, my opponent's still making drones. My opponent is just now starting a third gas. So this guy doesn't have, and he also doesn't have a lot of units that are, like, at the door. It's very unlikely that soO has like 20 roaches already. It's very unlikely. Odds are he's still droning, and he's just doing it a little bit slower than Serral is. So like that scout for Serral, and he's doing it again. He's scouting across them again, making sure nothing crazy is going on, in case he somehow missed something. This is why this guy is insane. He's so good. soO, on the other hand, is soO's also, like, again, very good player, but he's less active. soO still has not scouted the base once yet. soO has no idea how saturated the third is. soO has no idea how many drones are in the natural, what's at the front of the natural. He knows that Serral has Ling Bane because he saw a Baneling of Serral earlier. And he also sees, okay, there's a group of Lings here. We're both kind of zoning each other out. Nothing's really happening so far. But yeah, again, another thing that could be happening here is, actually, I like that that soO has this. I was about to say another thing that could happen is, what if Serral actually just had like a bunch of roaches and he was going to all in soO, and he decided, you know what, I'm going to run here, and I'm going to break these rocks down with roaches, and I'm going to go forward and push your base really fast in the middle of the map when you don't even know what's happening. But he actually has since soO has position on the high ground and has map control right now, he also has Zelnaga Tower, which I like. I like that a lot, because now that's not a factor anymore. He knows that's not going to happen. So that's good. And he also sees that there's no scout that can go across here, because you would, I do think you would see an air unit flying by Amon's face with his Zelnaga Tower, because you can't fly through. I don't know if you can fly through the top of his head. I don't think you can. Let's back it up. I just missed something that was important. Okay, so that was important. because that was a pretty decent amount of lings that just died just now. That was like probably like 10 lings or so. That is a good trade for soO. And what that does for Serral is it goes like this. All right, that killed a bit of my drones, and I am not yet at optimal saturation. I'm not at 66 drones yet. I'm not fully saturated on all 3 of my bases. So now, and I just lost my defending lings, so now if I look at what I have to defend myself, I have 2 Banes and 2 Zerglings. That's a really thin amount of units to defend yourself with. That's going to make it really scary, because if soO decides, you know what, I'm going to attack your natural and your third at the same time, or something like that, there's more of a chance that that Serral could lose drones. So Serral now might want to be thinking to himself, all right, I just kind of wasted my lings there. That sucks. I need to maybe remake some units. Maybe make roaches a little bit faster than I would have liked, or remake a few lings so I don't lose drones. Because at this point, if Serral goes, you know what, I'm just going to make mass drones until I'm at 66, there's a good chance that he might not keep 66. He might lose some. But to make that decision, a fully educated decision, okay, for Serral here, look what he's doing again. He is scouting the third base. The third base is such a big amount of information in this specific type of a situation, like in a ZVZ game when neither player has really done much in the early game and they're both just macroing up. Because when you macro up as Zerg, you don't have to make drones. You can macro up and stockpile like 1 or 2 minutes worth of units and then just go, time to 8, time to just move a blob of units across the map. Or I'm making drones. Like you can do both basically. So the fact that Serral is keeping tabs on the drone count of the third base of his opponent is huge, because right now there are currently at this base right now there are 10 drones already here, and there's about to be 3 more coming. This one, and this one. But this is a very well saturated third, which means that they're automatically, as a Zerg player, this is what that tells you. If you go, okay, he's got a lot of drones. He's got almost a fully saturated third. I've also been making drones, and I would have had 12, but I just started 2 gases. He has 10 now at his third. There are 12 currently here, okay? It's the exact same number of drones. And if we look at what Serral's done so far, and with production he's got drones, soO's got drones, overall, it means that it's impossible for soO to have a bunch of units stockpiled. Just by saying this, it's now impossible for soO to have a bunch of units stockpiled because he has mass drones. The only way you could hide that and go, all right, it looks like he droned, but let's just say somehow soO actually stockpiled like a bunch of lings or roaches. The only way that would happen is if soO said, all right, I'm going to transfer like most of my mineral line at my natural, or like my mineral line at my main, and just send it to my third base. And just for the meta version of this, I'm just going to make him think I droned my third, but instead I just lost a bunch of mining time because I went to a different base, and now I have an exposed third base with a bunch of drones at it. But now this might make Serral go, oh, I'm safe to drone some more. But instead, I've been actually making units for the last 45 seconds off of 2 bases, or like 1.5 bases, and I'm about to all in him. That's like the only way you could actually do something like that. But that in itself is not great, because the amount of mining time that you lose, it makes your all-in way weaker anyways. So it's unrealistic for someone who's really good to do something like that. It's not practical. It's kind of silly, because you just lose too much money to make it worth what it should be anyways. So again, seeing all these drones at the third base, this is a lot of drones. This automatically means he's safe. So it's really up to Serral if he goes, you know what, I could probably make drones. He actually could make drones and be fine. But if he wants to be extra safe about it, he might make a couple units just to make sure he's not going to take some type of random damage. But for soO, again, I like that soO killed those lings with his Banes. That was a good trade. But I would love to see soO scout the fucking third base. He has seriously no idea if he's going to get all in or not. He's playing a risky-ass game right now. Super risky. He's a good player, but he's not scouting enough. He's assuming too much. Because here's the problem with soO, okay? This is the one problem with soO. This is why it's risky. It's because I would say the way soO's playing right now is a little RNG. If soO were to spot a move out from Serral that has been stacked up roaches, and he now, let's say instead of getting a baneling nest, Serral went for a really fast lair, okay? And then Serral, with going that really fast lair, he then went for a really fast roach speed +1 or some shit like that. He just went for some type of a build that's not super standard. But soO didn't scout the ramp at all. It doesn't know that there's not a baneling nest. Also, soO didn't scout the mineral lines. It does not know there's not enough drones here. If that happened, and soO assumed this, and he goes, "Oh shit!" Right after I just made a bunch of drones, let's just say the next larva eject pops off for every hatchery, and soO goes, drones, drone, and he makes like a round of 8 drones, because that's what he's been doing so far. Because look, he has a lot of fucking drones, guys, but he's doing it blind. If out of nowhere, Serral started pushing across the map with like 12 roaches with move speed, and then was flooding roaches behind it. So we already have 12 coming, and then just roach being rallied across the map. There would actually be no real way for soO to react to that if he just made drones. So it's really fucking scary for soO to not scout the base just to make sure he's not being flooded or not. Like there's not going to be a flood or not. But the way soO's kind of playing it is if he goes, all right, well, there's a bunch of roaches coming across the map, and my ejects are about to pop off, and then I'll make roaches. Then yeah, it would be a very good chance that soO would be able to defend that, because he would have enough larvae defensively to hold his base and then slowly start overpowering his opponent. That's very realistic. He's just trying to get to that max eco game as fast as he can. He's almost there already. But it's still risky the way he's doing it. That is 100% risky the way he is doing it. And here's his first scout. He's finally scouting it up. He sees drone. He sees fully saturated drones. Now it's totally fine. At this point, 100%, soO just confirmed, but it's already at 5 minutes and 20 seconds. It is a little bit late. This is after it's already been fully saturated. But at least now, soO just confirmed for himself, okay, yep, you are macroing. You are not doing some type of a weird all-in based build. It's okay. I'm okay. Every drone I've made is still fine. I can make even more if I want to, which is what he's doing. He can get to that fully saturated point and not have to worry about dying. So I don't mind now either player's position. They're both playing it just fine. But I think Serral got to this position a lot safer than soO did. I think soO got to this position a little risky, but they're both here, so the game it's kind of irrelevant now. What I said still applies for early game if you're in that stage where it is early game. But now at this stage where this is now officially, like, I would stamp it. This is now the mid game. We've just got to the mid game, guys. And the early game doesn't matter. Both players are at a stable stage for the mid game, and now we look at that basically. So now comes the situation where both players want to look at tech, and both players like tech composition and base count. If one player takes a really greedy 4th base, that is something to keep note of. Look at like what Serral's doing. He's taking a really fast 4th. If a player takes a really fast tech, that is something to keep note of. Also, upgrades. I feel like upgrades kind of falls into the line of tech, but upgrades is also something to keep note of. If you notice, look at, here's a perfect example. I want you guys to look at Serral's baneling nest, and I want you to look at his roach warren. And I want you to look at the animations of the buildings really fast. Notice how the baneling nest is it's still moving, but it's chilling. It's kind of chilling out, not really moving a lot. But look at the roach warren. This thing is moving like a ton. It's like it's jittering. The body of the building is like jittering around a lot. It's shaking around constantly. Look at the Evo chamber. It's kind of chilling. But now look, this is perfect. This will show you the difference in what it looks like. If you see a building that is shaking around a lot, it means it's doing something. It's researching something. Something is in the building being produced. But if the building is chilling and not really doing a lot, it means the building is kind of idle. It's just there for tech purposes, but it's not there for upgrade purposes. It's currently not being used. Or it's done already if you're at that stage of the game. But watch the Evo chamber. This is actually a perfect example. Look at the Evo chamber right now. Stare at it. Get your eyes used to seeing how slow it moves, and get ready for the fact that it's about to start moving a lot faster. Look at it. See how now it's going like it's starting to jiggle around a lot more suddenly when that upgrade starts. The building suddenly becomes a lot more lively. Well, if you notice, look at soO's overlord. Or his overseer rather. soO's overseer automatically right now goes like this. This is what soO can realize from this. He can go, okay, I see your base. I see a roach has level 1 weapons. That's it. And I see no upgrade started yet, and you're a natural. Oops, God, I didn't hit B again, sorry. Let me get back to that point again. Come on. Okay. So, soO already knows that Serral has the lair, and that, you know, that's cool. But then soO's gonna scout in further, and he's going right over the upgrades first. Automatically. Right now, automatically. This is what I would be thinking if I was Serral. Or if I was soO. If I was the red Zerg. Okay, my opponent is not going for a Baneling speed upgrade, which makes it less likely that he might be going Mutas, and it makes it also less likely that he's going to go for a Roach Baneling timing. Some people like to go Roach Bane. Roach Bane's actually really, really good in the meta against someone who goes Roach Hydra. Roach Bane has these weird timings where it can kill you just before Lurkers happens. And he's also not starting level 2 weapons yet. He does have level 1 done already. Maybe he has a second Evo Chamber. I'll scout further in to figure that out. But so far, I know that he does not have level 2 weapons started yet. So the upgrade window advantage that he may or may not have if he starts it really soon is every second that goes by that he doesn't start level 2 weapons, it's going to be smaller and smaller and smaller for the window of time that he has where he has an upgrade advantage. Because I can see the building is not currently upgrading. But he is upgrading something on the Roach Warren. So that's most likely going to be Roach speed. No one really gets Burrow move first. That'd be really weird. Because your Roaches would be incredibly slow going underground. It's not really good. But yeah. You can kind of be like, alright, well, he's most likely going for a Roach build. We don't know for sure what kind of a Roach build it is yet because he is upgrading the Roaches. And the upgrade window is not going to be super huge. Just to put it in like a TLDR version. That's what soO can see from Serral's build. And then while he's still here, he goes... Turn around. Okay, I don't see any tech. There is no second Evo Chamber. There is no Spire. There is no Hydroden. I don't see any tech behind the natural. And now I'm going to send my Changeling up to his main. It might die. It might not die, whatever. But I'm going to get my Overseer out of here and send the Changeling forward. Changeling dies, doesn't see shit. But as soO leaves, he goes, okay, your whatever it's called, your Evo Chamber is currently upgrading again. So now I see the fact that now this is when it starts. This is when upgrade window starts. So my upgrade's only about 13 seconds away from being done. If I start level 2 weapons, the second level 1 weapons is done. That is a 13-second window my opponent now has over me where he can launch an attack, and for those 13 seconds he has upgrade advantage. So I gotta keep that in my mind, and knowing that when my upgrade is almost done, that his window of attack could be there for 13 seconds, so I need to try to make sure I'm not in a bad position for that period of time, because it's going to give him an advantage. That is something to think about, like 1 or 2 minutes from now, that you should be keeping tabs on. Know that you're behind on upgrades, so don't try to force a fucking fight where your opponent is going to have an upgrade window above you, like an advantage on you. And then he moves out of his base, goes, alright, let's leave. And in doing so, he happens to spot, okay, you're going for a fast fourth. I should probably react to that by taking my own 4th base, because if this is now going to be a macro game, there is no... This 4th here means there is no tech shenanigans. This is not insanely fast Lurkers. This is not insanely fast Spire. This is not anything weird. Most likely what this is to transfer drones from the main to the 4th base when the main starts running out, maybe even make a little bit more drones, but also to make more Roaches at a faster rate for a Roach-based build. It could be Roach Ravager, Roach Hydra, whatever. Something with Roaches. But it's going to be a build that is very strong as the mid-game goes forward towards the late game. And soO knows this. So soO's reaction is, shit, take a 4th base. Like, I also need a 4th base of my own. And now I also know, not only does my opponent have a better upgraded window than I do, he's a little bit ahead on upgrades, but he's also a little bit ahead on production. So I need to keep that in my mind. Maybe, as soO, I should not force fights in the middle of the map, because my opponent's going to be producing units at a faster rate than me with upgrade advantage. And if I am, however, somehow at some point going to go for a window like an attack, if soO's ever going to go for a timing, 100% it should be if he ever sees his opponent out of position way before an upgrade's done. Because then he knows, maybe he gets a position where like if soO's ahead, or sorry, if Serral is somehow ahead in the mid game because he has more production, but the upgrade's not close to being done yet. Maybe soO gets a position where he's like, all right, your numbers count for nothing here, and I'm going to be attacking you in a certain spot where it's hard for you to defend it. Maybe I snipe a third, maybe I get out. Whatever. He doesn't really have to do that. And yeah. Now, that's kind of soO's position right now. Like, he knows that his opponent went for a faster upgrade, faster production, but there's trade-offs. Why is Serral ahead on both of these things? And does that mean he's ahead on everything if nothing's happened yet? Because look at resources lost. Barely anything has happened this game. soO should go, all right, well, you're ahead on upgrades, you're ahead on production. What does that mean for me? It means I've probably invested more money into my current composition. If we look at this, look at our current count of units. We have 11 roaches to 21. So this is something that once again kind of falls into windows of time here, which is kind of what I briefly just mentioned a second ago. If soO is spending all of his money, and he can assume his opponent is doing the exact same thing, but soO is spending, he's literally spent all of his money and it's on roaches. If soO wanted to do a timing, it would be right now or anywhere within the next 60 seconds to like 80 seconds, basically. Somewhere before when these upgrades are going to kick in and this hatchery is going to fully kick in and have like maybe a queen at it producing shit. Because right now soO does have army lead. But you also have to keep in mind, even though he has army lead, pushing across the map takes time, and it's also scoutable. And if Serral sees that coming across the map, there is a very real chance that Serral will produce enough units to have a defender's advantage and deny the attack from killing him or doing damage at all. So but that is something to keep in mind, though. soO does have army lead right now because he's invested into his army faster than Serral has, and Serral has instead invested into a faster fourth base and also faster upgrades. And then on Serral's side, he sees, okay, your fourth base just started. I have not seen your base yet. He is also now starting to scout. Serral invested into other things first before scouting, before doing this. He knew he was fine in the early game, but now it is Serral's turn to go, all right, now let's scout in the mid game. What is my opponent doing for the mid game? And there's one difference between both of these players' builds and the way they're doing it. One player does not have overlord speed. One player, the other player, Serral, does have overlord speed. And what this means is that there is a much higher chance now that Serral's overlord is going to get a very, very, very I'm gonna go busy. This is gonna be a YouTube video. I don't want to see that shit. I don't know who this is. I don't know what he's gonna say. I don't want to see or sorry, I'm saying the other thing. Serral is going to need to see what's going on, and the fact that he has overlord speed, there is a higher chance that he's going to be able to scout the base. He's going to be able to scout what's going on with it, and he's going to know what's going on with the upgrades here. He'll have a better chance at scouting tech, all that kind of stuff. And again, he sees the fourth base. Serral right now knows my fourth is faster, so that's an advantage for me in that sense. I can now transfer my drones at a faster rate. I can maybe make drones for it if I really feel like I can. It's unlikely. But I can see what's going on, and he actually catches wind of a move out. So he's getting ready to deal with that now. And also because Serral has overlord speed, he decides, you know what, I'm going to try and do something with my banelings. And I'm going to move them across the map. It's another way to use your overlord speed. Serral has more map awareness, map vision now than soO does because of this upgrade. And he's also using it for potential damage. And now we see, so now this is this is now officially the mid game. Okay, this is like the first attack of the mid game. Both players can see each other's units. Both players have level 1 weapons. Both players know so far super standard, and both players have as many roaches as they possibly can at this point because both players have a blob of roaches that looks respectable to the other blob. I would say if I was soO and I saw Serral, I would not be like, oh, I can easily overpower that. And if I'm Serral and I see soO, I would not think, oh, I can easily overpower that. Both players have a army that looks scary, but I would say that Serral's blob looks slightly smaller than soO's blob, and the reason why that is because this is way faster than this. And the one reason why it's not going to make that big of a difference is because this army is currently going to fight this army located right next to this hatchery and this hatchery and this hatchery and this hatchery, which means that every single time, if this army were to collide and smash with each other, the second the fight starts, roaches can go, all right, I just spawned, and within 1.5 seconds, I'm in the fight. I just spawned, within 1.5 seconds, I'm in the fight. I just spawned, and with like 1.5 seconds, I'm in the fight. I just spawned, and within like 4 seconds, or maybe 4.5 seconds, roaches from the main are now in the fight. But but soO, on the other hand, roaches that he makes go, all right, I just spawned. I'll be in the fight in 30 seconds. I'll be over there in a little bit. Like, it's going to be a little while before I get across the map. So defender's advantage is huge here. There's very little chance that Serral's going to die. As long as he doesn't force the fight too early and get overpowered to a point to where it just spirals out of control. And Serral knows that, or soO knows this too. He knows the position he's in. He knows his opponent's army is not a piece of crap. It's very respectable. And the last thing that soO wants to do is move into a position too early to where he takes a fight and starts getting overpowered. And he does the exact same thing that he doesn't want to. What he doesn't want to happen is he doesn't want to take a fight too early and go, I might have like 5 more roaches right now, but you have defender's advantage, and suddenly defender's advantage makes you now have more roaches than me, and now I stay way too long, I overextend my army, and now I don't have really any roaches left. All I have is the new roaches I'm producing, and now you have this like, now it spirals out of control in Serral's favor because soO took a fight too early at an ill-advised time, and suddenly it's like Serral has 20 roaches on the map with like 4 ravagers, and soO has 8 roaches on the map with no ravagers, and they're both producing roaches at the same rate. But that maybe there would be enough for Serral to push across the map and overpower. Neither player wants to let the other player have that like snowball effect. Basically, it's why you got to be very careful about where you fight. If you know you're not massively ahead, if both players are like in the same position, nothing's happened yet. You got to be fucking careful. Basically, is my it's the point I'm really trying to make here. But soO is kind of like testing. soO is kind of like testing the water here for the game, because he is creating attack paths for himself, and he's trying to move around the map up and down here and there just to see maybe if Serral does not allocate enough units to one spot, then soO could be like, yep, I'm going to attack that now because I can overpower that. And maybe he doesn't have to attack somewhere else if if Serral messes up his positioning. This is just kind of testing your opponent. He does not have to take a fight. He's just testing his opponent and seeing what he sees right now, where he's like, okay, you have a lot of units here. If I was soO, I would say, all right, I should probably back up. And if I'm Serral, I would say I should probably defend this choke point. Not chase, defend choke point. Because the last thing you want to do, if soO does not back up, okay, and he fights in a choke point where Serral has ground that he can use right here, here, this concave for Serral could be fucking massive, because if he uses this position right here, from this point right here, all the way down in a line to this position right here, and he fights roaches in a spot right there, 100% he could do that and not lose the hatchery. And if he does that, soO takes a fight that is terrible. soO takes a terrible, awful fight, and 100% soO loses that fight, and Serral's probably going to win the game if soO does that. And then vice versa. That's why soO should back up. And now if Serral were to chase, okay, let's just say soO sees, or Serral, these guys have such similar names, double S's, and it's fucking me up. If Serral sees soO run away, and let's say he goes, oh, I'm going to chase it. Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. I'm going to just chase this army. And out of nowhere, we see Serral running down this way. And soO goes, okay, your army is currently now right here, and my army has relocated to right here. So you're here, and I'm here. If Serral's out of position, there's nothing stopping soO from going like this. Okay, I'm going to run like 5 roaches this way over to the third base, and I'm going to snipe your queen and start sniping like drones and stuff. And I'm going to run the rest of my blob into your natural. I'll snipe the roach warren, and I'll have some of my roaches kill your drones at your natural, and have some more of my roaches go to your main and kill your drones in your main. And what happens then? Serral will then have to make a choice and go, do I want a base trade? Which would be a terrible choice, because that would mean that soO is already in the base of Serral like 15 seconds before Serral could be in the base of soO. It's fucking terrible if you were in that position if you're Serral. Or Serral says, alright, I'm out of position and now my drones are all dying. Let me go back into my base now and chase him and kill his stuff. In the time it would take Serral to clean up the attack in his base, soO would already have a brand new army ready to go to defend the eventual then, you know, whatever's left in Serral's base when it finally cleans everything up. soO would already have a brand new army to be able to fight that. And he would have no hiccups in his economy. So he'd be totally fine. So that's exactly why both players are deciding to position themselves the way they are, because this shit can get out of hand really fast if one player allows positioning for the other player at any point in time. But you gotta also keep in mind the one other thing that I really like about how Serral is taking advantage of the situation is right now Serral is the defender. He's the one who has to be defending because soO is the aggressor. Both players are max supply, but currently the fights are happening on Serral's side of the map, which means Serral's the defender. But Serral's not just defending, he's actually taking advantage of the situation by trying to create a multi-prong, like a hectic scenario. He's trying to create a multi-prong situation by using drop lords. So, for Serral to defend this, how does he have to do this? Okay, he looks here, and he looks here. He has overlords giving him vision pretty decently over most of his base. This is probably the, like right here for Serral, that is. Right here is like the only real dead zone spot he has in his base, which I would love to see him kind of fill in. Because currently there is army right next to his base that he does not know is exactly where it is. It could be right there. It could be right there. And that's a big difference in how you should position your army, because this army, if soO's army is right there, okay, like a big fucking blob right there, and Serral positions too far over here, there is a very good chance soO could run up the ramp and defend the ramp with a create a concave on top of the ramp, or like soO can now defend right here and force Serral to run into a bad choke point. And if that happens, soO could kill this hatchery and then get out the back door without losing anything really. And same exact thing could happen where if, let's just say, soO's army is mostly right here, and now Serral is defending right here instead. He's got his army way over here. There's a very good chance that soO could run straight left up the base and actually get a good positioning on this hatchery before Serral can defend it. So I don't like that. I do not like that Serral does not have this scouted, because he doesn't know what side is heavier on the roaches for his fourth or his third base, which needs to be defended. This is a little bit of an oversight with his vision. He still can see eventually when it comes, but it might be too late because it's not enough vision. It's very important right now too, because he is the defender, and there are roaches right now currently running to the left that he does not know about exactly. He sees these, but he does not see these. That's why it's kind of a big deal. Positioning is everything in Roach vs. Roach. But again, I do like the fact that he is creating this, again, like I said before, this multi-prong situation where if he drops the bases of, God, my eye is itchy. If he drops the bases of soO's base, it's going to be a lot harder for soO to not only defend bases back at his base, while also attacking across the other side of the map. It takes a lot more attention to detail and a lot more meticulous micro and shit like that to be able to micro both sides of the map. For soO, it's really easy. Or sorry, for Serral, it's really easy because all he has to do is go drop lord, load, unload, load, unload. Way easier than having to deal with the drop lord. But again, same thing. Both players kind of just respecting their position. So this situation right here, 100% is because of one reason, which I'll tell you in just a second. There are two times when you will ever be the aggressor and go, you know what? Even though I have a shittier concave, I'll shove forward and try to take the better concave against my opponent. There's only one of two times that makes sense. And soO is not doing this because he goes, oh, I smell weakness right here. I'm going to totally win this fight because I have a bigger army. That is not why soO is doing this. soO is 100% doing this because in his eyes, his roaches got over here unscouted for longer than they should have, and he is now setting up a roach counterattack on this base, and he's hoping to keep Serral busy long enough for this to do serious damage. Even if soO were to lose this fight a little bit more than he should, if this does some serious damage on this base, soO is still ahead. Because this will fuck Serral's production up really hard if too many drones die. Maybe the hatchery even dies. If anything drastic happens on this side of the map, this is massively impactful in the game. So soO is doing this as a distraction, and Serral has to respond to this. He has to defend this, but it's now up to Serral to go, my opponent is now already attacking me. I need to now decide as Serral, how many roaches do I dictate to either side of the map to defend multi-prong. And you can see soO does not have enough to win this fight. But he did this fight to distract Serral and to get a multi-prong attack on him. And soO realizes that he has bought enough time now for his multi-prong to get in position to do damage. So what does he do? He goes, well, I don't need to lose all these units. All these units run the same speed. I guess roaches do run a tad bit faster than ravagers do. But in general, there's a very high chance that Serral is not going to be able to kill most of the rest of soO's army here if soO runs away. So soO runs away. And at the same exact time, Serral has to react to this and respond to this, because if Serral goes, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to let my whole base die to these roaches, I'm just going to go counterattack all in now. Again, there's a very real chance that soO could make a new army fast enough to regroup this army with a new produced army and defend himself. There's a very high chance he can defend himself. So Serral understands that as well. So Serral's going to defend this. And in defending this, he can't really just go, you know what? I'm going to split off just enough units to defend this, and I'm going to chase you with the rest. Because if he chases with a smaller part of his army, the exact same thing is going to happen. He's going to get across the map and get overpowered. So realistically, what's going to happen is Serral's not going to fucking chase him. It's not going to happen. That's very unrealistic right now. It's just not in the cards right now, boys. He's not going to chase. What he's going to do is he's going to leave some units to defend this, and he's going to split off a good chunk of his army to overpower this. Serral should not send his entire army to defend his third base, but he should send enough to overpower this. We're talking like if this is 14 roaches, Serral should send like 18 roaches or like 20 roaches to kill it, just to smash it and make sure it's not a trade, it's a crush. But still, at the same time, have more produced roaches and enough to still defend this if Serral decides, or if soO decides to regroup really quickly and come back again. So there you go. He's splitting off his units, and he's leaving some here, because if Serral were to send his entire army, and look exactly that. He's actually, I feel like, sending not enough, barely, but this is like a split-second decision type of thing. You got to do it fast. I would love it if he sent maybe like 3 more roaches, just like 3 more. Because 3 more roaches would mean he would overpower this. Like, he would not trade it, he would overpower it. And if we look at this army right now, if it comes back immediately, there's nowhere near enough for soO here to defend this. Because soO just lost a bit more than he should have to set this up. But the setup so far is still in soO's advantage. I think this is still better for soO. And now, soO's already done the damage. I would actually love it if soO just said, alright, I did my damage. I'll probably lose like 4 more roaches if I just say run away. Like as I run away, I'll probably lose an additional like 4 roaches from the shots I take as I leave. But if he leaves, 100% soO gets out with some of his roaches still, because the level of trades he's going to get now out of this fight is going to be terrible. Because even though I just said I would love to have seen it if Serral sent like 3 more roaches, he's actually using roaches that are spawning out of this hatchery, which is also totally fine. He's still overpowering this in one way or another. Kind of. There we go. So this is going to be a bad fight if soO leaves it here. So he could have ran away. He killed like 1 or 2 roaches, but whatever. It's still, it doesn't matter. Even though soO lost those roaches like that, soO still has the lead, because the amount of damage Serral just took was still way more massive than what Serral lost in doing it. Or I'm saying it backwards. soO did more damage with what he lost. 100%. That is a guarantee. But soO could have actually made it even better if he would have been like, alright, I did my damage, the drones are dead, let's just leave. He could have got out with most of those roaches, 100%, if he didn't overcommit. But the overcommitment is still, it's still a soO advantage, is what I'm trying to say. Now, it's getting to a stage 2, where both players, this is kind of now where it gets to another, this is now getting close to that mid-game to late-game transition. And here's how both players should be thinking about this game. For Serral, Serral has been scouting, not only scouting, but also harassing his opponent's base with Drop Lord roaches. And also he sees with Overlord scouts that he goes, okay, my opponent is throwing away a bit of roaches, but he's fucking me up a bit. But he's also just massing roaches. Like, he's just massing roaches, massing roaches, massing roaches. He doesn't have gas in his fourth. I've scouted his main. I scouted his natural. I don't see tech. I've been flying around his base here and there with my Overlord. It looks like he's just going Roach Ravager. He's also made even more Ravagers. Now, for Serral's side of things, he is also responding to it by going Roach Ravager, and that's what's happening. But now, if we were to look at soO's side, because soO doesn't actually know what's going on in the main or the natural... whoops. soO doesn't actually know what's going on in the main or natural of Serral, but the amount of damage that soO just did to Serral makes tech irrelevant right now, because there is no way Serral can be like, I'm gonna go Mutas, I'm gonna go Hydra Lurker, I'm gonna go for Hive Tech, I'm gonna go Brood Lords, well, like whatever. It doesn't matter what the fuck Serral does. If Serral were to try to transition into something else right now after the amount of damage he just took, 100% he would be dead. He would just die to this timing. The second round of Roach Ravager. He would be absolutely dead. So soO indirectly can know what Serral's doing, because even if Serral tries to do something else, he's going to die for it, because there's no way he can get it off. He doesn't have enough economy anymore to make it work, because he just took a shitload of damage. And also the fact that soO is forcing this army out of Serral, that's also the scouting for soO right there. He goes, okay, you have a shitload of Roach Ravager, just like I do, and you also have less economy than me because I just fucked you up. So I already know 100% you have no tech behind this right now. Both players, other than the fact that you have Drop Lord, that's the extent of Serral's tech, is the Drop Lord that soO has already been defending against. So both players know the position they're in the game, based on what's happening in the game right now. And right now, it's all about soO is just trying to split his army up in ways to make Serral react, and Serral is trying to react to soO's attacks in a way where he splits up enough properly. And if either player ever makes a mistake where they send too much or too little to one side and they overpower it, they will totally do it. Otherwise, they're just going to try and conserve as much as they can and try to like tax the other player as much as possible to make them feel overwhelmed with the situation. That's what both players are doing. They're just trying to make sure they don't make a mistake in this position where if one player sends 10 roaches this way and the other player doesn't, well, that creates a situation where it might be fucked up for one player over the other. Because positioning and amount of units and positioning of units is everything. If you have more units than me, but I have a better position, I can take a better trade than you. But if you have a bad position and I have more units than you, I can easily kill you. Like this right here, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Actually, sorry, I didn't see this. If this was it, let's just pretend that Serral only left this much units here, and that's how much soO had. 100% soO would push forward and kill this. No problem. And he would not commit to this, because if he sees this here, that means that the other side of the map is stacked as fucked with the amount of roaches he has. But obviously we have this here too. I didn't see that at first. This plus this is totally enough to deny that. It's just you're trying to tax the other player, and it maybe you can also land some corrosive vials and thin their army out, like soften it up a bit. And that's really all it is right now. Both players trying to tax each other, trying to split each other's units up. And I also like that what Serral did was actually really smart. He decided to chase, because he saw a large chunk of units here, he decided to chase soO's army with another chunk of his army over here. But the reason why I think it was smart is because both players had Ravagers on both sides. Or sorry, both players had Roaches on both sides. But soO had all of his Ravagers on one side and no Ravagers on the other. He had 0 Ravagers on the side, on the bottom side. And what soO did was he tried to take a fight on the top of the ramp, but Serral had an overseer as well, and soO actually took a bad fight here because there was Roach Ravager hitting just roaches, which is amazing for a Roach Ravager because you get more DPS off faster. So that was a great fight for Serral, and then Serral reacts to it by pushing him all the way back, doing some damage, and then not overextending, but instead backing up, which should buy Serral some time to drone again. That was a good trade for Serral, and now, after doing something like that, he now has the ability to make drones because soO just take a cost and efficient fight, so Serral can drone again and not be like, I'm going to die if I do this, because it just buys him some time. So that was super smart. That fight bought Serral drones, basically, because he did not overextend, it didn't lose it, and he took a good fight. And the reason why is because of Ravager location, Ravager positioning. And people make mistakes all the time when the game gets kind of like overwhelming. And now here again, look at this again. This is another example of a mistake. That shit gets crazy in ZVZ. In every matchup in StarCraft 2, basically. soO was pushing in here with the exact same... soO was doing the second round of the exact same thing he just did a second ago. This is a distraction. This is a counter pressure attack. Now, Serral, at first, saw this. Only this. He saw, okay, you have a lot of roaches on the top side. I'm going to flank it. He was actually going to flank it on both sides with Roach Ravager and surround and kill this top army. But just a little bit later, as Serral was doing that, he committed his army over to like right here. Meanwhile, soO is like right here. And he's running forward directly to the third base. And Serral realizes it, like when the roaches are here. And instead of going for a flank now, Serral goes, oh shit, I need to go back to my base and defend it. But look what's happening. Serral's running home behind these roaches. 100% red roaches get to this base faster than these roaches will. So we're about to see some more drone losses. So even though Serral just bought himself some drones right here, they're going to fucking die again because the game is going back and forth really crazy. And both players are trying to move around, manipulate the map in their advantage. And soO just took the advantage with how he's moving this roach group here. Because now, soO doesn't even have to take this fight anymore. soO could literally just be like, I'll push forward for a second and then back up if I think you can defend this. Meanwhile, these roaches can fuck you up. And horribly enough for Serral right now, Serral actually... I think Serral dedicated too many units to the defense. Let's see how much. Yeah, he dedicated too many because look, this is. We'll go back to the point where he turns around. Like the second he turns around. So he's really committed over here, and now he's turning around. We have Ravagers and we have 18 roaches. This army only has 13 roaches. Okay, that's 5 roach difference already. Just the roaches alone would be enough to overpower this fucking super easy. But he also dedicated 4 Ravagers, which is huge now because now there's 7 Ravagers in this main army versus 9, plus a fuckload more roaches for Serral. Like this amount of roaches is huge to this amount. It's a big difference. So long story short, this is too much army dedicated to go back and defend this. And then it ends up happening where Serral moves his army, and this fight's already happening before this army can regroup. So not only is this army out of position to help reinforce this one, but this army is also out of position to help defend this. So soO just won 2 fights on 2 different fronts. This is massive. This is a big problem now for Serral. And it's because he manipulated the map in his advantage just by chance. He was doing back and forth a lot, and he happened to take a good fight. It's really hard to every single second that goes by to go, oh, is exactly how many roaches I need to send here? Go, boom. Exactly how many I need? Go. The matchup gets kind of wild. It gets crazy. And also, you got to keep in mind, too, Serral is not only trying to dedicate the right amount of roaches at the right amount of times, at all times, against soO's attacks, but he's also drop lord harassing. So soO is doing 2 things, whereas Serral is doing 3 things at once. soO is just going like this. Attack, attack. So he's going attack, and he periodically sends back and forth units to reinforce one side or the other. soO is going scout, scout, react, react, drop. Scout, scout, react, react, drop. So Serral has an extra task in this rotation, which can totally make it realistic that you might make a mistake here and there. And also, you can clearly see the idea of Serral a second ago was to flank and crush. But if he did that, yes, 100% he would win this fight, but he would lose his entire third base and he'd have to evacuate the drones, which is fucking terrible. So even though he would kill this army, he would be down a base again. So soO manipulated the map better than Serral did. soO is actually really good at defending the drop lord, is basically what this means. Even though Serral is trying to attack with the drop lord, soO is great at defending this while also manipulating the map like this. Because you can also say Serral has 3 tasks at once to attack with the drop lord, but soO also, I guess, has 3 tasks because he has to defend it. And soO is just really good at not crumbling to this kind of shit. And now in this position, soO has successfully killed the 4th base and has his own fully saturated, pretty much. It's almost fully saturated. He'll transfer more drones to it as he needs to. You don't really want to go up to like 90 drones in ZVZ. You want to stay around like 60, 66 if you can. Some drones have died for both sides because we clearly know why the drones have died on Serral's side, because the roaches of soO's killed them when they ran over here. But the drones on soO's side have died because of the drop lord. Only 2 have died though. So soO actually stopped droning a while ago. And I guess soO also made... soO actually would have had more drones too, but he made some spine crawlers to help him deal with the drop lord. And then he also took the gases at his at this base over here. So that's 5 more drones. So Serral killed 2 drones, and now also 5 more drones were built into structures. So he would have had 64. Had no drones been used like that or died like that. But either way, he stopped at a drone. He stopped at enough drones to make Roach Ravager. Roach Ravager. Roach Ravager. Would you say it's easier to be the aggressor or the defender here? I feel like that question is irrelevant because it depends on how good your opponent is at doing what he does. If you're really good at being the aggressor, it's going to be harder to be the defender. Or if you're really good at being the defender, it's going to be really hard to be the aggressor. That kind of a question is irrelevant, and you can't sum it up to like, oh, it's always harder to be the aggressor, because it comes down to how good your opponent is and how good they are at what they do. So now it kind of goes back to the same stage again. soO is just looking for an opening. soO has an advantage right now in terms of he knows he's a base up, and if he can just force trades out of Serral, then Serral will slowly die, because soO mines more minerals than Serral does. Serral's in a bad spot right now. Also, the other thing is soO is also trying to slowly trickle roaches off out of his army when he takes trades and remake his army into mutas. And you can see he's actually going to commit and do a lot of mutas because he's going for upgrades of mutas too. This is not like one of those weird, I'm going to go mutas as an opener against roaches and then switch into Master Roach Ravager after. This is, I'm going to go Roach Ravager and then I'm going to switch into a lot of mutas later on. And that is, the mutas are going to basically be a kill move, because what the mutas are going to do is the mutas are going to force Serral to be stuck in his base the entire game defensively, and if he ever attacks across the map, he's going to get picked apart by mutas, and then eventually he'll run out of money and die. That's soO's plan for Serral right now. That soO wants to contain him till he kills him. Serral, however, on the other hand, has actually scouted the Spire with the Drop Lord. So this Drop Lord, again, has not only scouted, but has also done some pressure here and there, but it's given a... the biggest thing is it's scouted. It hasn't done really that much damage, but it has scouted the tech of soO. And again, soO doesn't need to scout Serral as much because the way he's scouting is kind of indirect. It's more just forcing things out of Serral rather than allowing Serral to do what he wants. Does that make sense? I'm going to say it again in a way that you guys might understand. Serral is the defender getting attacked by soO. soO's economy is kind of untouched. So soO can totally transition out of this if he wants to, because his economy is not disrupted at all. But because he's doing a good job at defending the drop lord as well. So going for like a Spire is very realistic for soO. But soO is attacking Serral a lot, being very aggressive, and he's actually getting damage done. He's killed 26 drones already, and he's also even killed a 4th base. He's forcing this reaction out of Serral. So it's very unrealistic that Serral is going to have this massive tech switch out of nowhere because he fucking can't afford it. He's like Serral is basically scraping the bottom of the barrel every time to just get enough to defend this over and over and over and over. Because he's being attacked so heavily, and he's also letting it do damage. So far, soO is playing the mid game better than Serral is. But we can see, because Serral sees the Spire, he actually starts transitioning into Muta and Viper now, which is actually really good because he's able to scrape that out. Like, he's able to actually manage to pull that off. If he didn't have Hydras here, he would 100% be dead. And the big thing, the reason why this is actually really good, this is actually really good. I gotta pause it again. There's so much to talk about. The reason why this is really good is because it's two purpose. Number one, the obvious one, is Mutas will get shut down so fucking hard against Hydras and Vipers. Hydra Viper will absolutely take a massive dump on Mutas, no problem. Especially the more Mutas that soO gets, and the more Hydra Viper that Serral gets, Serral actually will take an advantage in that situation because Muta trades terribly against Hydra Viper. Now the second reason why this is really good for Serral is because he already has not only to mention the fact that he's already scouted it, but he already has Carapace in this situation. And not only is Carapace nice against like Roach Ravager, it's not great, it's nice against Roach Ravager. It's amazing against Mutas because it reduces 3 types of damage off of a Muta. It reduces initial hit, first bounce, and second bounce. So Carapace is triple the value against a Muta as opposed to like a Roach. So his composition is becoming solid as fuck against the Mutas. And the last thing is soO has no armor upgrades. soO has only weapon upgrades right now. So Hydras are also units that gain massive benefits against because they have such high attack speed. Hydras just like shred Roaches and Ravagers so fucking hard if you do not have armor upgrades. So his army composition is not only becoming better because it's hard countering Muta, but his composition of going now into Roach Hydra with a little bit of Ravager support is becoming even better against the mass Roach Ravager of soO, because if there can be a really good concave, Hydras will actually do the most DPS out of this entire army, even more than Roaches and more than Ravagers. Hydras will do the most DPS out of everything because there are no Carapace upgrades for soO. It's the Hydras scale so fucking well if you don't have Carapace upgrades for your if the opponent doesn't have Carapace upgrades. So that's good for Serral is making a really smart transition right now. He's not overcommitting to the Viper. He is making more Hydra than he is Viper by quite a bit. But he still has Viper support to help with a flock of Muta, but he's still banking it on lots more Hydras now that he's going into it. But now if we go to look at soO, soO is getting weapon upgrades, which are great because Mutas with weapon upgrades, like I just said, they suck against Carapace upgrades. Oh, so he's counteracting that by making his Mutas better. But he's also getting Carapace upgrades on his ground army, which is huge too, because now it will once again remove the benefit of Hydra. It'll make Hydras a little bit worse, which is going to be now the big power unit of Serral here. So soO is making his front line more durable, and he's making his harass squad more effective. So both players are making the right moves here to counter each other properly. But I would say this is ultimately the ultimate goal of both players. And it comes down to economy. If Serral can get economy back, Serral's going to win the game. Because Serral's composition is better than soO's. But on soO's side, the other part of it, if soO can starve Serral out and keep him if soO can keep Serral on a lower economy, even though his army is less powerful, it's more mobile, it's more effective at harass, and it's also cheaper than Serral's. you can remax it faster and faster and faster. If you keep going Roach Muta, it's faster than going Hydra Viper. But soO's army is more mobile. It's more powerful at harassing. It's the benefit of the army is that it can kill bases and drones faster. And if it starves out your opponent, it doesn't matter that Serral has a more powerful army. If he can't physically afford to make it because he has no money, soO's going to win anyways. So that's the goal of both players. One is to starve out the other, and the other one is to defend long enough to get an economy. God, I need to take a water, dude. I'm going to just let this play for a second. My throat's so dry. Holy shit. But that's the goal of both players right now. Starve them out or survive. So soO is definitely not going to stop attacking his opponent. The Mutas are definitely reinforcing that mentality. Now we can see the Mutas are going down on the bottom side. It looks like he's replaced. It actually looks like he's replaced the Roach squad that he likes to send on the bottom now with Mutas instead. So Mutas will be going on the bottom instead of Roaches. But now look at this. This is actually scary for Serral. Or scary for soO, rather. This amount of Mutas right here, 10 Mutas, is not that scary when you have a Spore and a Queen. It's really not. Spore and a Queen could actually kill probably 4 Mutas before they both die. And then it would also buy a lot of time for Hydras, like a few Hydras, to come, like 5 or 6 Hydras to come over there and shove the Mutas away entirely. So it's kind of, this squad is not really going to get a whole lot done. And I think right now, soO is pushing a little bit blind. He doesn't actually have vision here anymore. And he doesn't realize until the last second that he's getting flanked. And if soO were to stay here long enough to go, alright, fuck, I'm just going to fight this. And he lets Roach Ravager come on this side and Roach Ravager come on this side. soO's army should die. Because Mutas will not be able to prevent that from happening. Mutas won't be able to stop this from overpowering this with a flank. But if soO runs away right now, he's fine. So this is really scary for soO to be moving out like this without knowing exactly where his opponent is. Because this is not enough Mutas to overpower anything really yet. Like once you get to like 20 Mutas, that's when it gets scary. 10 Mutas is not scary. And soO realizes this. He's not getting stuck in a situation. He's trying to move back as much as he can to prevent the flank from happening. Now he's creating it into just concave versus concave. This is still not the greatest for soO though, because there is more of a ground army here than there is an air army. And this is probably the best way I can explain this. That fight would have been even worse for soO if he had fought right there and he allowed himself to get fully surrounded. But he chose to go to a position where instead of a surround, it became concave versus concave. And what that means is it means soO's Ravagers last longer because they're not getting hit in the back by Serral's army. The Ravagers are a big part of this, about sustaining your DPS. So soO made his fight a little bit better, but like I just said a second ago, Serral's army is actually better than soO's army. Roach, Hydra, Ravager, Viper is better than Roach Ravager, Muta. Not only because compositionally, Roach Hydra is going to shut down Muta so fucking easy, and in a big concave, Hydras actually perform really well. But the other reason why it was really bad for soO to take this fight as like the way he did is because, number one, Serral has an armor upgrade, which makes these Mutas weaker than they should be. This is before his weapon upgrade is done. And number two, soO does not have a Carapace upgrade, which makes these Hydras perform better than they should, because now they're doing they're literally doing 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 14, 14 on soO's army, which is fucking insane. That is a shitload of damage that they. The amount of damage that how that scales, it makes Hydras kill Roaches at like a faster rate, ridiculously scary. It's not good to fight without armor against upgraded weapon Hydras. It fucking sucks. And the reason why some of you might be like, wait, it's 5, it says 15. Why are you saying 14? Because Roaches have 1 passive armor. Even though it says 0, they have 1 armor passively. So they should have 4 if they were level 3 level 3 armor. And if you think about it like that, instead of it doing 14, 14, 14, it would be doing 11, 11, 11. And I want you guys to multiply that number like twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. And look at how that number scales. It scales a lot differently. The 11s scale up so much slower than 14, 14, 14. It starts getting drastically out of hand pretty fast. And the Hydra hits about almost twice a second. It's just a little bit slower than twice a second. So it gets out of control pretty quickly at how fast your opponent's army will die if they don't have the proper upgrade to deal with it. So soO, basically, long story short, soO should not have gone for a fight as fast as he did, but he got way too in the mindset of I gotta be aggressive because I know my army's worse than my opponent's, and I want to make sure I can starve my opponent out. But realistically, what soO could have done is he could have just not attacked the way he did and waited for a second and kind of flew the mutas around the side of the map, around the back, tried to maybe harass some drones. Maybe he gets Serral out of position, does some damage here and there, doesn't overcommit to a fight when he doesn't need to, or at the very least, if he's going to take a fight, wait until these upgrades are done, because these upgrades would have changed the fight a lot at how effective his army could have been. And for Serral is like having like a sigh of relief, because he's like, thank God my opponent took a fight where he just lost map control, because he took a fight probably about as bad as he could have, because it was before an upgrade timing, and it was also before his composition was scary, because he didn't have enough Muta to fuck me over. Because that is something to think about too. If Serral is starving on income and he doesn't have enough money to make a lot of Viper, or if Serral's army gets slowly bled out, rather than taking a big fight, it's little skirmishes all over the place, and then soO runs away, and Serral has to keep respinning the gas over and over to keep replacing his Hydras and his Roaches and stuff in these skirmishes. The more trades that happen, the better soO is in that situation, because soO is mining more money than Serral is. So going for a big full frontal fight was about the best thing Serral could have had happen. soO had the right mindset of I gotta be aggressive, but he had the wrong mindset of I need to have a big fucking one massive fight. soO definitely needed to have the skirmish mentality throughout this whole time, still even now, because trades are in soO's favor, and it's really easy to take trades if your army is more mobile than your opponent. Serral is not as mobile as soO is, because mutas are way fucking more mobile than the rest of this army is. And now that soO just did that, he just opened up a big problem for himself, because of the fact that, number one, he just lost a lot of the mutas that he just made. That's the expensive part of soO's army. And if he just decides, you know what, I'm just going to go Roach Ravager again. It's not the best. It's kind of what he has to do, but it's not the best thing to do in this situation. Because now if he goes back into Roach Ravager and now he's the one defending, he has no way to pressure his opponent's economy again. And Roach Ravager Hydra is going to not only eliminate all the scouting potential of soO, so now it's going to be harder to react to where Serral's army goes, but Hydras and good concaves trade insanely well, especially with the fact that soO doesn't have armor upgrades. And again, even if he gets one armor upgrade, it's nice, it's going to help. But Serral already has level 3 weapon Hydras. So that's fucking scary. It just comes down to both players need to once again not overextend and control the map. And right now, Serral is thinking to himself, I've been behind this entire game for a while now, plus I have no anti-air in my army, and if soO were to go, I'm just going to go mass mutas now. If soO were to just make mass mutas, and Serral loses this army, look at Serral's production. He's forced to make Hydras because soO has mutas and the potential ability to make more mutas. And if Serral loses this front line, there is nothing stopping this back line from killing his Hydras super easy. Hydras are great at killing Roaches without Carapace upgrades, as long as they can hide behind a Roach front line of Roaches. If the Roaches are not there, the Hydras just fucking die because they're super squishy, no matter what. So soO backs up, or Serral backs up because he doesn't want to bleed out to mutas, kind of like what he is right now. But he's not bleeding out very fast because a lot of the mutas are dead. But now it's turning into a blind game, because neither player really has a lot of scouting potential. Neither player really knows for sure what the other player is going to remax into. This is that scary stage of ZVZ. You don't fully know what your opponent's going to make. You can assume it's going to be like a fast remax in this situation because neither player is super rich. soO is actually more rich than Serral is, which is why his supply is so much higher right now. But neither player has a bank. Neither player can max out with a bank. They're both working to max again. So when you're in that situation where you're both working to max out and the Muta count was just reset pretty much, you can kind of assume both players will go roaches because it will give you the fastest possible map control that you can get. And if you try to tech too hard, when your opponent goes for roaches and you don't, your base is just going to get run over and you're going to fucking die. That's usually what's going to happen. And now Serral does not fully know. Oh, wait, yes he does. Hold on. The Muta saw it earlier, right? I missed that. Yeah, okay. So, right there, as soon as he saw that, soO knows, okay, my opponent's going Roach Hydra again. Roach Hydra Ravager. Same exact thing he was doing a second ago. He's recommitted the Hydras. It makes sense. He needs Roaches for a front line. He just ran away with some Roach Ravager a second ago over here. Makes sense that he still has Roach Ravager, and it also makes sense that he has a brand new round of Hydras. Because if I'm soO and I just made a lot of Mutas, I would automatically win the game if my opponent doesn't make Hydra. Also, Hydras are going to be really good against my Roaches anyways. Serral's army is honestly more effectively strong than soO's is if supply counts are similar. So it's obvious that Serral's going to go for this army, and soO just confirmed it by seeing it physically right there. So he knows, okay, you're not doing something weird. You're not switching your tech into something. You're not the one somehow going for mass Mutas in this situation when I would have no anti-air. Because think about it like that. Right now, what if, okay? All these Hydras that Serral just made, and the Ravagers he just made, what if that was like 14 Mutas? And soO's like, I'm going mass Roach Ravager! And it's 14 Mutas versus 4 Mutas, and suddenly all these Ravagers start getting picked off by Mutas. And then somehow Serral delays soO's army long enough to pick it all off with his Roaches on the ground and Mutas in the air. And then suddenly it's like, oh shit, now my opponent has a Muta advantage, and now I don't even have a Hydra Den. And I don't really want to go Mutas when I have a Muta disadvantage. Oh shit. Like, it's confirming that it's Hydras again. It's obvious. It's most likely what's going to happen. But the fact that he just confirmed it guarantees that he's safe now. He's not going to have some weird situation happen where it's like, oh fuck, something random just happened that's like a tech switch. Because he doesn't actually fucking know. He has not seen the base in a long time. He doesn't really know. So yeah, that's good for that he knows that. And then Serral, on the other hand, doesn't know if this is going to be mass Mutas again or not until just there. He saw it again with the Changeling and again with another Changeling. Now he's like, okay, you're going Roach Ravager. We both know what each other's doing. We can both kind of gauge the situation and how it's supposed to go. And the reason, once again, why soO is the aggressor is because he has more money up to this point, once again, which he knows for sure he has a supply lead right now. And soO needs to attack in some way. He needs to not try and take a big fight. He needs to go for skirmish battles again because his army is shittier than Serral's. Serral is fortunate enough that the game is developed to the point where it's almost max versus max. Because if it's just one big concave versus one big concave, 100% Serral wins. So soO needs to take some type of a trade situation. He needs to make, if he can, kill another base of Serral, or try and take little fights here and there, but don't actually commit to a big fight. soO does not want to commit to a fight. He'll lose if he does. This is really smart by... okay, this is kind of smart by Serral. This is scary. This is risky. Both players are maxing out. Serral does know his army is better than soO's, but this is a lot of Roaches. I think maybe if he would have sent out like 9 Roaches or like 8 Roaches instead of 14, that would have been better. Because you're getting into the verge of, you might have sent too many units across the map. This is going to do some serious counter damage. But at the same time, if you lose this fight, the game's over and you're just dead. So as soon as Serral sees this, or sorry, as soon as soO sees this push, he has a choice now. Do I turn around and go defend it? which gives Serral map control again and also economy control, and he gets to mine this for free? Or do I say, fuck it, new units that I make, like the new roaches that spawn, spine crawlers, queens, whatever, you guys defend it while I try to overpower his army here. Both are kind of scary. And we'll see what soO actually decides. He's just going to send a little bit of units back and try to go for a fight now. But as long as Serral always has the right position of the concave, he should be fine. Which he's been doing so far, which is good. And now this is getting really annoying for soO. But soO actually made a good call, I would say. He kept map control pressure on this side of the map, and he sent enough roaches to go deal with it, but not enough to lose map control. So that was good. And now with the Viper, honestly, I don't really feel like we need to do too much analysis of the Viper, but I'll say what the purpose of the Viper is. The Viper is the potential threat of the Muta. Because at any point in time, if he wants to, soO could have been upgrading weapons on Mutas this whole time, and out of nowhere he could be like, you know what? I'm gonna remax Mutas. And if Serral does not have Viper and he's fighting against maxed out Hydra, or sorry, I said that wrong. If soO remaxes Mutas and Serral has no Viper, and it becomes a serious problem, he has no AoE to really fuck the Mutas up, he could very well lose that game. Because if his Hydras get overpowered by Muta Roach, and suddenly it's just a bunch of Mutas picking off all of the rest of Serral's Roaches and Ravagers, very, very likely Serral loses that game. But just by having a couple of Vipers, it now has the threat of going, alright, well, if my opponent does go Muta, I can Parasitic Bomb his ass, and it becomes way easier to deal with a mass Muta transition. Plus, if he doesn't go Muta, I know I'm not the greatest position with my economy. I can maybe try to pick off things here and there without forcing a fight. I can maybe pick off a Ravager or whatever. Serral is definitely in this I gotta be cost efficient mindset, because if he's not, he's gonna fucking lose. Because he took massive damage earlier on, and he's been behind all game. Because look at the income. It's fucking ridiculous. And look at the gas and the minerals. Just a second ago, soO had like 2,700. He could go mass Mutas if he wants to. He could lose Roaches and go into 30 plus Mutas if he wanted to. And I'm telling you guys right now, 30 Mutas is going to kill 15 Hydras. It's going to kill it if that were to happen, if there were no Viper. But I like that soO's not going Muta because there are Viper. The Viper changes everything. Yo, thank you for the subs. Boys, I'll chat. I'll talk to you guys in a second. Sorry, I'm almost done with this. So now, this attack, this happened for two reasons. Okay? Number one, Serral sent a group of roaches on the bottom side of the map over here. This is what's left of them. But he sent a group of roaches on the bottom side, and the Mutas saw it, and also soO sent some roaches down there to deal with it. And not only is Serral's army now more effectively strong than soO's is, like I said before, I've said it over and over throughout this whole game, if both players max out on these kinds of compositions, soO's army is shittier. soO's army is a worse army. Roach Ravager with worse upgrades is not better than Hydra Roach Ravager. It's just not. Hydras are fucking insane in this position. They're so good. Plus, also, the fact that you have Viper to either abduct things in little stalemate situations. Vipers can force the fact that if there are Mutas, they're really going to have a hard time dealing with Parasitic Bomb and Hydra. And then finally, the last one, Blinding Cloud. Roach Ravager, if it's just a big concave versus a big concave, you can just Blinding Cloud the shit out of his whole army, and it gives you ground to either push forward and kill things like a hatchery, or him push forward into you and get your Hydras get so much more DPS so much faster, because his units walk into your concave even further. So Serral's army is just better in this situation when they both max. Because and the reason why is because Serral's army is more expensive. So the fact that it's gotten to this point is a testament to how resilient, how cockroach style-esque Serral can be. He just won't fucking die. So Serral's in a great... Serral, I would say, is in a good spot right now, army-wise, as long as he doesn't lose it. But the one weakness I would say Serral has is that soO has a big bank. And if Serral takes fight... Like, Serral has to basically kill 2 armies of soO. Because Serral's fighting with an army where it's maxed out, and he has no bank. soO is maxed out with like 3,000 in the bank. So after one fight, soO can be like, remax, fight him again. So again, Serral's mindset is I gotta do as much damage as I can, as cost efficiently as I can. And soO is going, I gotta take a fight and whittle him down, remax, and then kill him. That's both players' mentality, because one player is going for a cheap, less effective army who's had more economy, and the other player is going for a death ball, basically, that's expensive as fuck and can't really remax. So Serral should win the first fight guaranteed, but it's about how well he wins the first fight to win the follow-up remax fight. And here comes the remax. Suddenly, both players aren't maxed anymore. Serral's pretty close though. But look at the banks again. Both players are getting close to maxing out. But look at Serral's bank and look at soO's bank. soO's actually generating a bank. Serral has not maxed yet and will not have a bank again. So it's the exact same thing again and again and again. It's all about trades. This was a good fight for Serral. That was a terrible fight for soO. But at the same exact time, we went back to this same, like, this is like the exact same mindset that soO's had this entire game. It's pressure, aggro, multi-prong. This army forces this army to be here. And when in doing so, this army kills this for free. This is not enough Roach Hydra Ravager to defend this. This is 16 units versus 44. This is 16 units versus 44 units. It's fucking ridiculously in favor of soO on this side of the map. So what happens? Serral just lets it die. He's like, oh, there's no way I'm defending that. It's dead. And also the last little fight. This actually, I think, was really good by Serral, but it's also really scary. Because having these roaches gone from this defense meant that there was no chance that this lives. This is also dead if it gets attacked, and it happened to die. But he traded. But the problem that I see happening here with this is that... Actually, hold on. The thing I was going to say is that even though if they trade one base for one base, it's still 3 bases versus 2 bases. Or, 4 bases versus 3 bases. 4 base for soO, 3 base for Serral. But the one thing I like about what soO did is he actually chose to sacrifice the base with less economy. The base with more economy is the one he chose to focus on defending more. So that's really good. And the base he chose to kill was actually a fresh base that has a lot of economy. And the one thing that's actually kind of good in this situation for Serral, if you really were to think about it in Serral's favor, is that soO has not really been disrupted on his economy up to this point. And this base is pretty much mined out. This base is pretty much mined out. This base is pretty much mined out. And this base is close to mining out. Somewhat. It's actually mined less than I thought it has. A couple of these patches are going to start disappearing, basically. One of them already has, or sorry, 2 of them already have, and a third one is about to disappear right there. So he's about to have 10 active workers on this base for efficiency. Whereas Serral is not really close to mining out any of these patches. They have like 400 on each. This is the closest one, which is 345, which is not close to mining out. That's like going to mine out in probably 90 seconds to 2 minutes. Or even like 4 minutes, rather. Like 3 minutes, 4 minutes. It's going to be a while, is my point. Anyways. The bases that have died have actually been in Serral's favor, but... again, the current value of everything... Serral is struggling to breathe here, and soO just keeps remaxing over and over. Okay. Back it up one more time. Okay, so this is my opinion of this fight. This is my opinion. There are two ways this could have gone. One is what happened, where Serral is forced to defend. He has to defend this. And in defending it, soO tries to use it as an advantage to kill his army. I think that this was I honestly think the only reason why soO chose to do this is because this was here. And this is how soO's thinking. Okay, this is soO's mindset, most likely. I just fucked your base up. I also just... this whole game, I've been keeping you starved out. I know for sure I have a supply lead right now. And you also dedicated some of your units to kill my expansion. This game will end right now if I can kill this army, which I know I have a supply lead against. So I'm going to dedicate everything I have to killing this army right now, and that'll be the end of the game. That's probably what Serral's thinking. Or, that's what soO is thinking. But I think the only reason why that logic is kind of flawed is because he actually just took a bad fight right there, like about 30 seconds ago, or 20 seconds ago. And he has a lot of his actual supply in production. A lot of his supply is actually across the map, not actually in the fight yet. So this is kind of like a ill-advised fight. And what I think he should have done instead was he should have actually forced the army to come down here, forced Serral's army to come down here a little bit, and maybe ran this army in and like killed some of the drones and ran away. Like throw some biles in the middle line, focus fire some drones, and if Serral defends this, because watch what happens here. Watch how long, watch how close this army gets with how far deep this army goes to fight this. 100%, this army could back up right now, and soO could kill probably half this mineral line within 2 rounds of vault, like 2 attacks from all of these units. Half this fucking mineral line dies, and most of this army could get away. If Serral turns around right now, this whole army could get away after like 2 auto attacks and then just run down the ramp. And then just have the reinforcement units rebuild, kill these units, regroup everything, and then go from there. But soO kind of forced the fight. And like I said before, he actually, I feel like, he knows he has supply lead. I'm 100% sure he knows he has supply lead right now. But he's fighting with part of his army way too early, when part of his army's not there. And he's also fighting when 42 supply of his army isn't even there either. Because it's in eggs and it's being built at home. So like a lot of his archers are dying before the fight even really gets flanked. It is nice though that Serral is picking off a lot of the important units, a lot of the expensive units. But this is still a scary position to force yourself into. I think soO is the one who forced this to happen, and he didn't have to do it. That's what I think. soO did not have to do this, and he could have won the game in many other ways. But he forced it, and this was hopefully going to kill Serral right away, but it didn't for the reasons we just explained. And now it's actually kind of scary because the amount of units that Serral still has left over is actually kind of respectable. This is actually this is a decent amount of shit still left in this game, and both players are now broke. But the one thing I could say is going well for soO is he's kind of realized that he's struggling against Hydras this game, so he actually eventually got +2 Carapace, which is also probably why he chose to take that fight. That's the other reason why he's like, well, +2 Carapace is here now, let's fucking surround him and try to just smash his army, because that weapon upgrade advantage is no longer really an issue as much as it was before. His Hydras will not be worth as much as they have been. But again, he didn't have to take that fight like he did, though. I think taking that fight when your economy is getting kind of thinned out is scary, because now both players are kind of building units at the same rate. And this, once again, is now a full even game, I would say. It comes down to who actually takes better positioning on their fights again. And I love that Serral has once again gone into the phase of, I'm going to have Overlords spread again, because Mutas are gone, and I'm going to scout you, and I'm gonna try to not get fucking owned here, more or less. And all soO's doing right now too is he's trying to they're trying to corrosive bile each other as much as they can, but I think he's also trying to bait out blinding clouds out of Serral. That queen is hilarious. That queen definitely doesn't even need to be there, but it's kind of funny that it shoves the vipers away. Because it'll eventually kill the viper otherwise. That's pretty funny. I love Serral scouting, man. He's so good. He's like the best scout. If anyone has like the best scouting, it's definitely Serral. And now this game just gets decided with one fight. If one player takes a bad fight over the other, the game's over. Because it's now gotten to a situation where both players are starving. Neither player is mining very much, guys. This is fucking pretty bad. This is pretty awful. And both players are trying to expand again to another base. Serral's is done. soO's is being built. There is a roach here too, which is actually going to start killing it. But this army 100% is capable of, like, both armies are capable of killing each other's armies very, very, very easily. And getting out of position once is how you're going to lose the game. I actually would say, no joke, the Vipers are nice, but I actually think soO's army is better here. The reason why? Serral has better upgrades and better tech. Having level 3 weapons compared to level 2 Carapace is better for 3 weapons because you get more damage in a Roach Ravager battle than you do about... like, here's the thing. Carapace prevents 1 damage, okay? Each upgrade of Carapace prevents 1 damage. Each upgrade of weapons adds 2 damage. So right now, Serral's Roaches and Ravagers are effectively doing more damage every time they hit soO's Roaches by, like, 1 damage, basically. So it's minor as fuck, but... It's still, Serral has upgrade advantage here, I would say, in the way he's upgraded for this kind of a battle. If it was Hydras and Hydras, it would be the same thing because one player has a weapon upgrade, one player has a Carapace upgrade, which balances out the damage that Hydras do. Either way, the Vipers here are nice, but they're not as good as you think. Because most of Serral's army is actually in Ravagers, and there is only 7 Ravagers for Serral versus 11 for soO. And Ravagers are better in this situation. I would actually love it if there was 4 more Ravagers here for Serral instead of these Vipers now. This is actually, there's one way to describe this that's really important. If these players were to go for a direct engagement fight, this will favor soO because you can still cast Corrosive Bile under Blinding Cloud, and you can still God damn. Blinding Cloud sucks ass in this situation. This is what I'm trying to say. Blinding Cloud, bad. Spells are still cast under Blinding Cloud, and the amount of more Corrosive Bile is allowing Serral or allowing soO to cast more fucking Corrosive Biles on his opponent's army. Okay? But Vipers are really good here too if you don't abduct, but instead, or sorry, if you don't Blinding Cloud, but instead you abduct. Because if Serral does not force a fight to happen, there's nothing stopping Serral from abducting Ravagers right now and zoning out the rest of the army with like bile, 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 abduct, abduct. Bile, 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 abduct, abduct. Bile, 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 abduct, abduct. If Serral played like that, that would actually be, I would actually say Serral's army would be better if he played like that. But if Serral does not abduct and he goes for Blinding Clouds and shit like that, then soO's army would be better because Blinding Clouds fucking blow in this situation. They're not good. So we'll see how it gets played out. But it's soO's advantage to abuse Corrosive Bile because he has Ravager advantage. But Ravager advantage could disappear because of abduct. So I actually will say, if you think about abduct, Serral's army is actually better. We'll see how they play it. I don't know. We'll see what they do instead of theory crafting everything they could do. That's really good. The more Ravagers, the better. The more Ravagers... Okay, yep, Serral's playing it right. The more Ravagers you have, the more zoning power you have against your opponent. And zoning is everything here, because you can force your opponent into bad fights with zoning power. Like, if I have more Ravagers than my opponent, okay? Let's say I have 10 Ravagers, my opponent has 4 Ravagers. And let's say they're in the positions they're in right now, and soO backs up to, like, right here. I can actually Corrosive Bile him and zone him, almost kind of like force fields, into a position that's really shitty for him, and I can pick parts of his army off. And because of Vipers here, now abducting enemy Ravagers, there is a guarantee that Serral now is going to start having Ravager advantage. Because now it's 9 versus 10, and three Ravagers just got abducted. Only 2 of them died though, but still. The one thing though that that's good for soO and bad for Serral is even though soO lost a couple Ravagers to some abduct just now, and he's also down a little bit in supply. Serral is now, it's a few minutes have gone by, and Serral is now starting to mine his base out, and he just lost his new base because of the positioning of the roaches of soO's. He went down and around, and he wiped out a base. However, soO saved his expansion, and the fight is still stuck on Serral's side of the map. So these roaches basically need to win the game by killing this expansion. If they don't, soO's gonna win this game, because even though he could lose his little bit more than his opponent, he's once again mining faster. He's able to lose some more, but still remax. These roaches look like they're gonna do some damage. Big fight. That was amazing for Serral. In this position, I would say Serral could 100% win this game. Now that he just got rid of that expansion, especially if he kills the hatchery, which it looks like he's gonna. This is huge. This not only is Serral's army better now, but he also now has control of economy, because soO is mining out faster on this base than Serral is on this base. As long as this base is dealt with, soO is at a disadvantage now. I don't like that. Blinding Cloud sucks. This is what I think should happen. This is honestly what I think should happen. I think that Serral should have... Serral knew that soO was in an all-in position now, okay? And soO knows he's in an all-in position now as well, which is why he's so fucking aggressive now. But I think what Serral should have done is he should have backed his army up right here and gone this way. Because this base is what matters the most right now. And also, if soO decides, you know what, I'm going to attack your main base, and I'm going to start killing your buildings. All that does is it gives Serral the ability then to rip part of the army of soO out of his base with Viper and pick it off one by one. And you could also even cut off reinforcements, and you could just rebuild a Roach Warren right here. And there's going to be no reinforcements either, really, because they're both fucking broke. Like, you can't really make a lot of roaches in this position anyways. And soO could just, or it's not soO, Serral could just keep recharging his Vipers up off of like gases or something, and keep abducting the Ravagers of soO, and just force the fight to happen on a choke point, especially if the army commits into the main. Or if the army chases him this way, let some of the army start smacking the hatchery and the gas and shit like that, and just, once again, take a better fight, where you can fight more of his units at once. My point is fighting with Blinding Cloud and trying to take the fight here was terrible. That was about the worst thing he could have done. Because he would have won that fight if these roaches were here. But soO taking the fight, because he would have had more supply in that fight. But soO won the fight because this part of this army was out of position to go here. This is probably the better way I can explain it. The only reason why soO took this fight is because this forced him to. This base dying is him going, fuck, I got all in now. Plus, soO goes, hit part of his army is out of position. Let's go. So I have a better chance now to overpower Serral if a fight is forced to happen. So both of these players took fights a couple points in this game that were not in their best interests. And obviously, when you're playing the game, it's really hard to always, like, within, like, half a second be like, don't fight, don't fight, don't fight. Like, because there's shit going on everywhere. It's hectic as fuck. What the hell did I just hit on the keyboard? I don't even know how I got this here. Okay, I legit don't even know what I just hit. What the Alright. My thumb slid across the keyboard and I somehow turned this on. I'm so confused. Okay, don't mind the income advantage thing. Fuck, does anyone know how to turn this off? What the fuck, dude? Numpad 1? Oh my god, you're a lifesaver. Holy shit. I don't ever use numpad. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know you could do that. Okay. But yeah, now Serral took a fight he shouldn't have taken, and now soO has the lead again. This game is really back and forth, but now soO is mining a little bit, and Serral's not mining anything, really. But it still could be either player's game. Neither player has a guaranteed I'm gonna win situation right now. I still, because of the Viper, I still do give a little bit of the advantage to Serral in this situation, but it could get out of hand again. If Blinding Cloud is used again, then soO's gonna probably win. So this fight, I feel like this fight looks like it's good for Serral, actually. This is one of the few times I would say Blinding Cloud actually worked in his favor. I do not think the Blinding Cloud was good there. But again, I don't think that because Serral has Vipers, I don't think he should feel forced to take fights like this. I think the chance of soO winning this game goes up if Serral forces a fight to happen like this. I think Serral should be the patient one by abducting the units of soO and getting rid of them slowly over time, because again, both players are broke as fuck. And you can see Serral just lost that fight. And he's like losing this fight barely. He's barely losing this fight. Just imagine if instead of taking this fight the way it was taken, earlier over here there were like 4 units abducted, and then over here there were like another 4 units abducted, and now suddenly there's 8 less units for soO because of just running away from his army and abducting his shit. So Abduct would have won the game if Serral didn't Blinding Cloud. And instead of forcing to take a concave versus a concave, he instead ran away and let soO attack a base that doesn't matter, because obviously it doesn't matter now anyways, right? The bases are all dead anyways. But if soO would have baited the base, or so if Serral would have baited the base and go, yeah, come forward. I've killed your base with my roaches over here, so I know you're not mining shit either. But as you come forward, I abduct your important units, like your Ravagers. And then when I know I've utilized the advantage that I have, which is picking your shit apart, then I can take a fight. That's going to be better because you now have effectively less DPS in your army because it's dead. Blinding Cloud is not great against Roach Ravager because Roach Ravager is fast and it can cast spells under Blinding Clouds. So it can get out of the Blinding Cloud quickly, and it can also still Corrosive Bile you, which makes you move anyways. Does that make sense? If I'm a Zerg player and I have a Blinding Cloud and I'm fighting against Roach Ravager and I cast a Blinding Cloud on his army, and while he's under Blinding Cloud, not only is he moving out of it, but he casts Corrosive Bile on my army, I have to move anyways, so I don't maximize the damage.
Thanks for the replay analysis and follow-up via direct messages. The follow-up is one thing that separates you from most streamers. If you're in the chat and have a few extra bucks to give, consider donating to ViBE smiley face.
Yo, thank you very much for the donation, Plasmid. Thanks, man. Thanks, man. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Game's over. both players could have won at different points in the game, but both players, I think, rushed the situations a little too much. I think if I had to, if I can tell you right now, both these players are insane. They're both playing at a really high level. Anyone who's like, ViBE, you think you're better than them? No. Okay? The answer is no. I would lose 100% to both of these guys. But I do think in their situations, if I can critique it, because no one plays StarCraft 2 perfect. It's impossible to play this game perfect. Both players played a little too impatient for the positions they were in when they both had the advantage, and they both threw it away. And it ended up coming to an end finally when soO won the game. Which, it's barely won the game. But yeah. Both should have been a little bit more, you know, specific on their style. Not so chargy. Anyways, thank you for watching, guys. That's going to be the end of my replay analysis. See you in the next one, boys.